Recently, I did a video that explains what I think is the secret sauce for giving any construction company or subcontractor in the construction world a secret weapon. That secret weapon is a planning methodology, which is called Scrum. So in this week's video, we're going to take a deep dive into what I think is the most powerful part of Scrum. And that's the retrospective, and more importantly, the happiness portion of the retrospective. Hi, I'm Josh Patrick, and I'm the founder of The Sustainable Business. Today, we're going to talk about just that, how you can not only make your team members happier, but how they can be responsible for making their happiness be so. So, here's the truth. We all want happy and engaged team members. We also know that one of the most important things we can do along the way is to make sure our people we work with are happy. This is especially true with what has been dubbed the Great Resignation. If your employees aren't happy, they're looking for another job. It's just that simple. If they are happy, they most likely won't even consider working someplace else, although even that sometimes is an issue. So it's really important to pay attention to happiness. So the hard part with creating a happy team member is we are only guessing at what they want. That is, unless we ask them what that might be. It would be really nice if we could just get inside our coworkers' heads and read their minds, but that's just not possible. Instead, let's look at what I think is the most powerful part of the retrospective. But first, let's review what a Scrum retrospective is. It's a chance to look back at the work you've done over the past 1, 2, or 3 weeks. It gives you a chance to review what went well and magnify it, and you can look at what didn't go well and fix it. Now, after you do that, then it's time for the most important part of the retrospective, at least in my opinion, the most important part. And that's when we do the happiness round. So here's how it works. Everyone on your Scrum team will take a turn, but you, as a Scrum Master, need to go first. So you have 3 questions you need to answer, and so does everyone else on the team. First question is, what about the work in the last sprint did you love? And you might even want to ask why this is true. Number 2, what about the work in the last sprint did you not love? What you didn't like? What made you crazy? And number 3, what would you change about the work you did in the last sprint that you did not love that would make you love that work? In other words, what would have to change about the things that you didn't love over the last sprint? What would have to happen? What would have to change for that to become something that you did love? Now, this is where the cool part is. You don't have to read your team members' minds. They'll tell you what has to change. And if they don't have an extra answer, here are the next 2 questions to ask. And this will likely happen the first couple of times you do the happiness question when you're doing your retrospective. So the first question is, if they say, "Oh, I don't know," which happens a lot, the first question would be, if you did know what would have to change, what would that be? And if they say, "I don't know," then we go to step 2. Now, there's a pretty good chance they're still going to say, "I don't know." Because what you're doing is you're asking them to take a chance. You're asking them to be upfront about what they think needs to change. And frankly, in most companies, when you ask that, that's a pretty big risk. Because if the boss doesn't like it, what do you think they might do? Well, they might fire you. So let's go on to the next thing if we don't get an answer to the first question. So if they still say, "Look, I don't know," then we say, let's pretend you knew what did work over the last sprint. Let's also pretend you know what you have to change. So this means is they get to pretend what didn't work well over the last sprint. They don't have to tell you what they're really thinking. They're just pretending. Well, you know what happens when people pretend? It's more often than not a pretty true thing. So here's the thing that you must get an answer. Don't let your people say nothing. This is why you have to go first. If you go first and you put yourself out there and you make yourself at least a little bit vulnerable, when you do this, you've given permission to the rest of the team to do the same. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but it actually works. If you don't go first and you don't start off the ball rolling, there's no way or little way in the world that the rest of the people on your team are going to feel safe enough to do what you want them to do, which is to tell you the truth. Now, here's the next thing that's really important for you. Do not be defensive about what you hear. You want to make sure the team members feel free to speak without being punished or criticized in any way. So, I would love to have a conversation with you about what it takes to put Scrum in your construction company. So, feel free to contact me at jpatrick at stage2planning.com to set up a time to talk. We'll help you understand the success path to installing Scrum in your company. In the meantime, if you're not ready to talk, download our free infographic on the success path to Scrum. There are 3 roles and 7 steps that you need to install for this type of system to work in your company. This infographic goes over all of them, and it's free. And while you're at it, scroll down and let me know what you think about focusing on creating happiness in your company. Hey, this is Josh Patrick. You're at The Sustainable Business. Thanks a lot for stopping by. I hope to see you back here really soon.